Doamnelor și domnilor, vă aflați în fața măreției unuia dintre cele mai tari jocuri create de omenire vreodată. Și acolo și ai un 300, uitați 300, le vedeți chiar acolo în monitor. Și acolo mai jos e un 300 și apoi și acolo și acolo și acolo, dar acolo sus nu e 300 de la Fraps și acolo este și aici nu este. Oh, Doamne, sunt deja copleșit. N-am să vă mint, a trecut foarte mult timp de când a ieșit acest joc, însă așa cum îmi place mie să spun tot timpul, de fapt e o chestie la care m-am gândit acum 20 de minute și care, dacă vreodată o să apară pe Conquistador, vreau să spună, știți cum spune tot timpul de citatul de Emil Cioran, vreau să spună citatul de la I Hate Pink. Așa, nu e important să joci un joc în prima zi, este important să-l joci, vedeți? Sunt atât de profund prin vorbele astea încât mă surprind și pe mine. Deci nici nu știu cum o să mă trezesc dimineața fără să-mi aduc aminte că, bă, am spus ceva important aseară. Jocul este 100%, 101% în engleză, deci dacă nu știți o iotă de engleză, atunci închideți acest video și duceți-vă să vă luați o carte de engleză în mână și învățați engleză, după care vă întoarceți la video. Pentru că e totul despre storyline, ok? Totul este despre storyline. Trebuie să urmezi storyline-ul și să nu urmezi storyline-ul. Trebuie să faci ce spune naratorul și să nu faci ce spune naratorul. Poți să faci orice, dar nu poți să faci nimic. Cam așa e jocul ăsta. E foarte, foarte ciudat, foarte weird în unele părți ale lui. O să pară foarte, foarte ciudat, vă spun eu. Adică, din ce am auzit. Îl știu încă de când era gen Half-Life 2 mod. Văzusem un video și când a apărut pe piață eram chiar foarte încântat. Dar nu prea am avut gen timp atunci să-l joc. Chiar am ocupat cu alte lucruri, dar acum am, pentru că sunt leneș și câteodată nu sunt leneș. Iar acum e momentul în care nu sunt leneș și am chef să-l joc. Gata, clarificat totul.
This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy. And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened, this complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
Stai, ce scrie pe cara aia? Nu pot să sar. Cine face un joc în care nu poți să sari? Ai... presupun că e un ai, dar scrie hate on days, deci e Mondays, adică lunile. Nu lunile ca luna martie, ci lunile ca luni marți, ați înțeles?
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
Pe asta, aha, I hate Mondays, da, exact cum spuneam, iar pe scana asta scrie who farted. What the actual fuck? Înseamnă cine s-a beșit. Cine s-a bășit? Cine s-a... Nu mai știu, eu știu doar cuvintele astea două. Să știi, unde e toată lumea? Ia stai pe asta ce scrie. I like who... I like work, I just hate My boss. Ah, gata, m-am prins. Iar pe aia la altă nu pot să-mi dau seama ce scrie. Unde suntem? De ce e atâta lumină? Stai, cred că am stricat ceva. Pot să-l deschid pe ăsta? Pe ăsta? O să mă urc pe masă, da, sigur asta o să rezolve ceva. Da, aceeași cană. N-am de gând să întreb de ce au pus asemenea mesaje pe cănile din jocul ăsta, dar... Nici aici.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
De ce? De ce să merg? Merg în... Ok, te ascult. Merg în stânga. Stânga. De ce trebuie să merg în stânga? Nu știu, dar...
There was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
Textele astea. Stai. One of you want. Things, money, more money, things, but with money to buy more things. What? Doamne. Doamne, mesajele astea sunt briliante.
Stanley stepped into the broom closet, but there was nothing here, so he turned around and got back on track.
No. Nu vreau. M-am săturat să ascult vocea asta, deci lumea...
Nothing here. No choice to make, no path to follow, just an empty broom closet. No reason to still be here.
No, ceva se întâmplă aici și știu eu, sigur. Adică, de ce trebuie să-l urmesc?
Stanley was still just sitting in the broom closet. He wasn't even doing anything. At least if there was something to interact with, he'd be justified in some way. As it is, he's literally just standing there doing sweet FA.
Și ce? What the fuck? Lasă-mă în pace. Are el treabă cu mine, mă auzi.
Are you really still in the broom closet?
Da.
Standing around doing nothing?
Da.
Why? Please offer me some explanation here. I'm genuinely confused.
Why not? Da, cel mai bun răspuns când te întreabă cineva why.
You do realize there's no choice or anything in here, right? If I'd said Stanley walked past the broom closet, at least you would have had a reason for exploring it to find out. But it didn't even occur to me because literally this closet is of absolutely no significance to the story whatsoever. I never would have thought to mention it.
Oare se enervează? Lasă-mă, frate, în pace, fac ce vreau, nu mă interesează. Asta e o banană? Nu, e un clește.
Maybe when you go talk about this with your friend, you'll say, "Oh, did you get the broom closet ending? The broom closet ending was my favorite." I hope your friends find this concerning.
What? Și-a primit un achievement. Cred că pentru că am apăsat de multe ori space, știi?
Stanley was fat and ugly and really, really stupid.
Ce mă?
He probably only got the job because of a family connection. That's how stupid he is.
Nu fi obraznic acum că...
Also, Stanley is addicted to drugs and hookers.
What? Lasă-mă, frate, omul ăsta știe cum să se facă un om să răzgândească. What the fuck?
Staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Downstairs to his boss's office. I got this. Downstairs to his boss's office. Downstairs.
But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss, admitting he had left his post during work hours. He might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. All of my co-workers blinking mysteriously out of existence in a single moment for no reason at all? None of it made any logical sense. And as Stanley pondered this, he began to make other strange observations. For example, Why couldn't he see his feet when he looked down?
Băi,
Why did doors close automatically behind him wherever he went?
da,
And for
să
that
știi.
matter, these rooms were starting to look pretty familiar. Were they simply repeating? No, Stanley said to himself, this is all too strange. This can't be real. And at last, he came to the conclusion that had been on the tip of his tongue. He just hadn't found the words for it. I'm dreaming, he yelled. This is all a dream.
I'm dreaming. This is all a dream.
Stanley felt to have finally found an answer, an explanation. His co-workers weren't actually gone. He wasn't going to lose his job. He wasn't crazy after all. And he thought to himself, I suppose I'll wake up soon. I'll have to go back to my boring real-life job pushing buttons. I may as well enjoy this while I'm still lucid. So, he imagined himself flying and began to gently float above the ground.
What the fuck?
Then he imagined himself soaring through space on a magical star field, and it too appeared. It was so much fun.
Holy
Stanley
shit.
marveled that he had still not woken up. How was he remaining so lucid? And then perhaps the strangest question of them all entered Stanley's head. One he was amazed he hadn't asked himself sooner. Why is there a voice in my head dictating everything that I'm doing and thinking?
Da.
Now the voice was describing itself being considered by Stanley, who found it particularly strange. I'm dreaming about a voice describing me, thinking about how it's describing my thoughts, he thought. And while he thought it all very odd and wondered if this voice spoke to all people in their dreams, the truth was that, of course, this was not a dream. How could it be? Was Stanley simply deceiving himself, believing that if he's asleep, he doesn't have to take responsibility for himself? Stanley is as awake right now as he's ever been in his life. Now, hearing the voice speak these words was quite a shock to Stanley. After all, he knew for certain, beyond a doubt, that this was in fact a dream. Did the voice not see him float and make the magical stars just a moment ago? How else would the voice explain all that? This voice was a part of himself too. Surely, if he could just... He would prove it. He would prove that he was in control, that this was a dream. So he closed his eyes gently,
Da,
and he
da.
invited himself to wake up.
Da.
He felt the cool weight of the blanket on his skin, the press of the mattress on his back, the fresh air of a world outside this one. Let me wake up, he thought to himself. I'm through with this dream. I wish it to be over. Let me go back to my job. Let me continue pushing the buttons. Please.
What
It's
the?
all I want. I want my apartment and my wife,
Da,
and
da,
my
da.
job.
Da, da, da.
All I want
And
is
my
my
cat.
life exactly the way it's always been.
My cat. What about my fucking
My
cat?
life is normal.
Da.
I am normal.
Da.
Everything will be fine.
Da.
I am okay.
Da. Nu e ok.
Stanley began screaming. Please, someone wake me up. My name is Stanley. I have a boss. I have an office. I am real. Please, just someone tell me I am real. I must be real. I must be. Can anyone hear my voice? Who
The
am
fuck?
I? Who am I?
What the fuck?
And everything went black.
Huh?
This is the story of a woman named Mariella.
Huh? Ce dracu e
woke
Mariala?
up on a day like any other.
Mariana?
She rose, got dressed, gathered her belongings, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. And although she would soon turn to go call for an ambulance, for just a few brief moments she considered the strange man. He was obviously crazy, this much she knew. Everyone knows what crazy people look like. And in that moment, she thought to herself how lucky she was to be normal. I am sane. I am
Ce?
in control of my mind.
Mariana, tot
I
e o
know
minciună,
what
îți spun eu, măi,
is
Mariana.
and what isn't. It was comforting to think this, and in a certain way, seeing this man made her feel better. But then she remembered the meeting she had scheduled
Nenorocita.
for that day. The very important people whose impressions of her would affect her career, and by extension, the rest of her life. She had no time for this, so it was only a moment that she stood there, staring down at the body. And then she turned and ran.
Mariana, nu! Nu! Mariana, trăiește în aceeași minciună! În aceeași minciună! Ah!